everybody. Hello, Ariel. Hello, it's good to see you, Ariel. I want to be where the nori is, which happens to be pretty much right here. Hello, Withered. It's so good to see you, Withered. Long time no see. I'm glad you're here. How are you doing? I'm glad to see you haven't lost your moderation powers despite the fact that I have not specifically requested your services in a while, but your powers remain. And we got Rex. We got Prescription Hipster. Welcome, Rex. Good. It's good for you to be here and not there. There is somewhere else. Nobody ever had a good time being there. All the happiness happens here. The dysfunction as well. Hello, Squarge, Ernie. How you doing? Hello, friends. Oh my gosh, Pansy, you made it. You survived. Thank you. Thank you for subscribing. Oh. I regret to inform everybody, some of the alerts are not set up correctly tonight because we're doing this a little bit differently because OBS and the PowerPoints are not fast friends. For whatever reason, there's a reason. There's probably some line of code in there that's like, where PowerPoint's like, fuck OBS. Or it's probably more like OBS's problem. I'm gonna do one thing though. I'm gonna scooch you over a little. I feel cramped over there. Crampy. I don't like covering up my nice poster, but sometimes it's inevitable. Meow! Meow, 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 meow. Meow! I'm anonymous. I'm a commodore. Thank you. Hello, Cannon. All the lunas happen here. Or the lunacy. I don't know. There's a joke in there somewhere. That's okay. You'll find it. I believe in you. You'll find it. Welcome, everybody. Also, some of my super radical fonts that were going to be a part of this presentation are not working. I know why they're not working, but I can't get it to work right now. But I had a super awesome font for my header. So Traveling on the Spectrum was going to be in this font called Road Rage, which I really liked. And now it's just a sad sans serif. Why is there a application error? Client something tiny words up there. Why is that doing that? That's something being a butt. Something didn't translate correctly. Application error client. That's all right. That's your typical scuff. I'm just gonna pretend like that's been scrawled on the wall of my cabin since the very beginning. Number 1 travel tip from Luna: meow the entire time spent on the plane. Yes, it will certainly. If you have a hard time keeping people out of your socials, out of your space, out of your bubble, meowing the entire time is technically not illegal, and will also still work. Well, thank you for coming tonight. I'm very excited about this. I am, as some of you may know, I've been in a weird space the last couple of months, and part of that weirdness has been that I was doing the whole very long, arduous evaluation process. I'm lucky enough to be able to even have it at all. It's a very expensive process. And I got my diagnosis in April, and since then, and even a little bit before then, honestly, when it was brought to my attention that I was probably got a touch of the tism, since it was suggested to me last year that I might have a touch of the tism, I was like, oh, I should probably read about that to see what exactly is the flavor of the tism that I have, and still working on it, of course. But I thought, you know what I really like to do? I'm really obsessive about travel. One of my special interests is travel. Not just like, oh, I like to go to different... I like to get lost. I mean, I like to wander. I like to get lost. I like to travel. I'm obsessed with the process of traveling, the preparation involved, the planning. I have systems, you guys. I have systems in place. And I'm going to do a special stream about my packing system in particular. But tonight's more of a general travel advice, travel discussion stream. For those of us who are neurodivergent, my particular flavor is autism. I suspected that I have ADHD, but I don't have an official diagnosis. But self-diagnosis is valid, just putting that out there. I suspect it's just hard for me to know. I'm sort of focusing on the one diagnosis at a time. I'm trying to I'm taking it slow. So I realized, even though I was only diagnosed in April, I realized that a lot of the ways that I had traveled in the past, both abroad and domestically, I had been compensating for some of the ways in which I had been advised to travel, but was unable to travel, or I was, trying to make the traveling easier and more fun for myself in a way that wasn't necessarily to the book, as it were. And I thought, wow, I should have probably known that, but that I had the touch of autism way a long, long time ago. Before the first time I went to India, like 6 years ago. Wait, no, that's much longer ago. God, how old am I? 7 years ago. It was the first time I went to India. I obsessed for months about the perfect travel backpack so that I could carry just one bag the entire time and not have to have luggage or a second bag. And I traveled in India by myself for 2 months with a backpack. 40 liter backpack. But I made it work, and it worked, and I was comfortable. It was comfortable. It was not like I felt like I was giving up on anything. But so that should have been my first indication that I probably had a touch of autism. But so I thought, I'd really like to I'd like to do more streams about neurodivergency and how it affects my life. But not only that, but like kind of take advantage of the freedom I have in streaming to unmask a little bit more than I do in IRL, and indulge in some maybe unusual autistic joy. And part of that is indulging in. We're gonna be doing a lot of weird stuff coming up soon. I'm gonna be doing lists about lists. I'm gonna be doing lists about bags. I'm gonna be doing videos about lists about bags. We're gonna be talking about we're gonna be doing tier lists. I'm gonna really go hard on the tier list, you guys. I need you there for the tier list because I need people to argue with. I need to start a fight. Specifically about Don Bluth films, but we'll get to that. That's another day. So, I love arguing over pointless things. Listen, as long as you don't take it too seriously, like it's important to you and you acknowledge that it's important to you, but you also know that it's not important at all to anybody else. It's all about you, and you're like, no, me arguing my point is really just me solidifying how strongly I feel, and it feels good to feel strongly about things. So, oh, my bun kind of lines up with the other bun. Look, bun on bun action there, look. Burger bun, hair bun, together at last. All right, friends, let's see. Blinky, getting blinky. Okay, so traveling on the spectrum, advice and brain farts from an autistic explorer. Da-da-da. Nope. Click on it. Work PowerPoint, not now PowerPoint. A real conversation I had, me, guy, do you think I might be on the spectrum? Friends say, yeah, we are pretty sure. Me, nobody told me. Why am I always the last one to know? I'm always the last one to know, and I don't get the memo. Disclaimers. Legalese. Not really legalese, but I felt like I had to include this. I am a cartoon on the internet, not a doctor or an expert on international law. I know, I'm disappointed too. So take this all with a grain of the saltiest salt. Do your homework, please. Please do your homework. There's so much to cover in travel. A lot of travel advice that you find on the internet is perfectly good advice, and it's not necessarily just specific to neurodivergent folks. So it's important to do your homework. This is sort of my little snippet. So, a non-expert snippet, if you will. Most information here is based off my personal experience. Everyone has different needs and limitations, so take what is useful and leave the rest. I am a late-diagnosed autistic cis-hetero female. How I experience travel is influenced in part by this. It may differ wildly from individuals and other demographics. Yes, I don't know what it would be like to travel in India as, say a POC or a trans individual. Those are highly unique experiences, and I would be remiss if I thought or claimed that this information was valid, entirely valid for those groups of people. And I also include this here because there's going to be some advice later on in the presentation that relates to safety, and if you are a femme presenting person on this planet, there are some things to be aware of, in particular when it comes to safety while traveling. And also, no mod bots were harmed in the making of this PowerPoint, as far as I have been made aware. For those of you who are new here, Modbot is the mod. Modbot is the secret mod behind all the mods. The mod of mods, if you will. Where I've been. I've been to Ireland, the UK, France, Canada, various places in the United States, and India. Some info here is location specific, but most can be applied to any trip you take. I will try to mention if like certain advice, if it's particular to a location, or more particular or more relevant to one location over another. Most of my USA travel is probably, most of it has happened, I mean, before I turned 18 and was able to travel by myself, really, or around myself. But I've had, I've been to a couple places here and there since. I moved around a bit. Military brat here, for reference. Anybody can tell me who this character is. If you can tell me who this character is, I will have faith in humanity again. Come on. Come on. Yackle, thank you. One of those Animaniacs. I mean, close enough, Scourge. Does anybody know the song he's singing? United States, Canada, Mexico, Panama, Haiti, Jamaica, Peru, or is it India, Jamaica, Peru? I don't remember if it's India or Jamaica. Meet Wacko and Dot. It's Usu! It's Usu, yes! I've heard that song, funnily enough. Brother of Wacko and Dottie. I used to love that show. The brothers Animaniacs. And their sister Dot. Right. Okay. Where, when, and how? Now, when you're talking about where you're gonna go, deciding where you're gonna go as a neurodivergent person, when you're gonna go and how, there's a couple of things to keep in mind. What are your sensory sensitivities? Your particular flavor of neurospicy? Are you gonna stay in a small boutique hotel or on a busy street? It's gonna be comfortable, but it's also gonna be loud. Or are you gonna stay in a modern hotel in an upper floor? Not as quaint, not as close to like the quaint downtown-esque area, but it's gonna be quieter. Crowded, walkable tourist area, or rural excursion? Depends. Do you want easy access to your safety foods, or do you want new flavor experiences? Height of the summer sweats, or midwinter and bundled up? I prefer colder rather than hot, in any sense, and anywhere. I would rather be cold than hot. Festival season. This pertains mostly to India, my memories of India, but festival season's gonna have fireworks, smoke, and lots of traffic, very busy. Things are gonna be more expensive. Or low season silence. Now, low season has its benefits, but it also means that a lot of stuff that you might want to do or see is going to be limited hours or not open at all. Application error is such a good chatter. Their every message. So good at it. Squat toilets are seated. That's also very particular to India, but it's something to... It's also a question about making sure... This is also sort of to make sure you... another hint at, do your homework, It's not that you don't find seated toilets in India, it's just that there are scenarios where you won't find them. That you will only find squat toilets, and you will not find toilet paper. And you will not find soap to wash your hands. So these are things that you either have to be prepared for or decide that you don't want to, it's going to be too activating. It's going to cause a meltdown. I will say, I have lost, my first couple trips to India, I lost a couple socks. Let's just say I lost a couple socks when I forgot to bring my own toilet paper with me into bathrooms. Rest in peace, socks. Listen, you gotta do what you gotta do. You got to do what you got to do, friends. And I did what I'd had to do. So that's going to influence where you decide to go. Special interests. Now, I love the idea. If you only have one chance at a very limited window of time to visit a place, I highly recommend formulating your trip or planning your trip around an activity that you already love to do at home. So do you like architecture and history, textiles and poetry, hiking and horseback riding, geology and anything? Make literally any special interest into the focus of your trip, because then you can do that thing in its own unique way in the new place. And so an example of that would be in India, for example, you can go, there are entire marketplaces that are, because of the way that the economy is structured, there are entire marketplaces that are just textiles, or are just pottery, or are just shoes, or just sculpture made out of wood, or just sculpture made out of stone, or gems. There is an entire section of the city of Udaipur that is just for silver jewelry. And so it's kind of in that way a neurodivergent dream, like a special interest dream to kind of go to a place like that, because you can pick out the thing you love and you can now learn about that thing or a version of that thing in the new place. And you can structure an entire visit around that. You can spend days just doing that thing. As someone with IBS, India is not on the possible travel list for many reasons. And again, this is this is why I say where and like when and how. Like you can go, if there are like Ireland, for example. I've been to Ireland several times. Ireland may be a better option for you. And although I will say, not all of Ireland. Ireland is still pretty rural. Still, I mean, most of the things to see in Ireland are still, but the beauty of Ireland is that it's a very small country, and you can get from the tippity-top tip-top north to the tippity-tip-top tip south in a day, and across in a day. So, driving. So you can see a lot in a very short amount of time. Hey, Kat, how you doing? Welcome, welcome. Good to see you here, friend. I have been to Wisconsin several times. I'm a big fan of the Mars Cheese Castle. I always stop at the Mars Cheese Castle on my way into the Wisconsin. Doing okay, all things considered. Yeah. I'd like to go to Germany. I'd like to go to Germany too. I really would. I've heard amazing things about Germany. You didn't know that was a thing? Well, now you do. It's a cheese castle. It literally started out as a 10 by 10 room full of cheese, as you would expect, in the shape of a castle. But now it has like a restaurant, and there's they have fine meats and sauces and beers and stuff, but still also lots of cheese. But anyway, yes. I highly recommend, if you have a special interest, you're not quite sure what you want to do, you can kind of guarantee a good time by planning your trip around a special interest. Travel companions. Okay, so there's pros and cons. I have done lots of travel alone. I have traveled with companions. Do they have their own sensory needs? Will there be time for all parties to enjoy what they came to see and do? Can you enlist their help to split up trip responsibilities? Maybe one of you is terrified of driving on the other side of the road and doesn't want any part of that shit, but you're willing to maybe pay for or you're willing to make the hotel reservations while the other person drives and does the car reservation. Maybe you're bad at being a meat shield when it comes to when problems come up with people, and you have a person that's really good as actually really good people person at dealing with problems. Modbot. You should upload this PowerPoint to the Discord. I will. I should say that. So this PowerPoint is a work in progress. I hope, my hope is to take feedback from you guys tonight and improve it and make it better, and then I will also make it very much available to everybody. I believe I can upload it on the Discord. If I can't, I will find a way to give people access to it. So that you may peruse it by your leisure, at your leisure. In your leisure? In your leisure. Sounds saucy. What else is there about traveling with someone? There are benefits. I mean, the chief benefit of traveling alone is you don't have to worry about any of that shit. You can do what you want when you want to do it, and you don't have to worry about anybody else. But it is nice to have the help. I have done both. I have split a trip where I didn't want to do, where me and my travel partner split the driving and the reservations for hotels and stuff. That took some of the pressure off in both departments. I have also found traveling with other people to be kind of a pain in the ass. I did kind of a fusion where I traveled in India for a month, and then I had friends who were also going to be in India for a couple weeks, and we decided to meet up for a week or so in the same city, and we would hang out and spend time there. And we had a fine time, but one of the individuals that was a part of this group was a friend of a friend and was kind of a buzzkill and kind of a bummer, and so it kind of sucked it can suck some of the pleasure out of it at times. I will definitely consult this when it's done, once I finally visit Japan. Yes, again, these, many of these things should be applicable across, broadly applicable, but, please do your homework on specific countries. And I'll get to that too, about my recommendations about where you can find specific information for specific countries. You could write a book with this or some other form of media. You could sell or something. You might need to remove the branding unless you want people to know, though. At the moment, this is so casual. I mean, very well may already be this stuff out there. It's just I had never seen it. I'd never read any. There's a lot of advice and a lot of travel information out there for families traveling with autistic children, and that's great. That's very much needed. But autistic children become autistic adults, and autistic adults want to be treated like adults and want to travel and move around and want to feel like they can move through the world. And in a world that isn't built for neurodivergent brains, it's the next best thing is to have kind of a encouragement. I really did this as a form of encouragement. It's not really a set of hard rules. It's more of like no, really, you can do this. No matter how anxious you are, I promise you could do this. It just means that you're not going to travel the way that a neurodivergent person travels is maybe not necessarily going to look the same as a neurotypical person. And that's why I was like, I couldn't figure out for years why some of the advice I was reading online or in books was so annoying to me. I was like, this is fucking annoying. I don't understand why this rubs me the wrong way. And part of it is that some of the information out there is just not applicable to a neurodivergent adult. It doesn't make any sense, and we'll get to that too. So what I would say is, when you are saying, I really want to go on a trip, I really want to travel, regardless of whether you are going alone or with a friend, sit yourself down, write down. The sensory sensitivities is a big one. Your experience or your ability to enjoy where you're going is going to be heavily influenced on how well you take care of those needs. You're going to need to, plan in a way that other people don't really plan. But if you do, it's going to make a big difference. And here we're going to get to the nitty-gritty of that. A note on sensory tools and fidget toys. Bring as many as you need, but aim for travel-friendly sizes and styles. Fidget toys should be able to attach to keychains, bracelets, belt loops, bag straps. This keeps them at the ready and prevents them from getting lost. Weighted stuffies, vests, and wraps can be subbed in for larger blankets. Loop earplugs or similar can be attached to special drop earrings. Make a small fidget kit. Similar idea to a first aid or a toiletry bag. This may be helpful getting through security. Include a medical card to help explain the therapeutic nature of the items. We'll get into the medical card in a second, because that's a big, very, very personal thing, and it's not something that I have never traveled with one yet, but it is something that I'm going to be traveling with in the future. So it's one of those things like I've heard of people doing it, and I'm going to be doing it myself. So I'll let you know how it goes. I would love a portable travel guide to traveling with autism as an adult, to be honest. Well, you never know. Maybe I'll make a book. Maybe I'll write a book. That's a big undertaking. You have to understand, I've written a book and published it. It's a pain in the ass. But you never know. So, going through these, so I always advocate for traveling as lightly as possible, but for sensory tools and fidget toys and things that are going to help you regulate your nervous system, do not skimp on it. If there's something you use at home that you love, that keeps you grounded and keeps you regulated, bring it with you. You can get, but if it's something like that is huge and mega big, try and see if you can get a smaller version of it. One of my favorite fidget toys, in toys and quotes really, are on the second one down of types of sensory tools, worry stones. I have a lot of worry stones. Worry stones are literally just pocket-sized rocks. Some of them come in a specific shape, like an oval shape, but a lot of them are just like, I have one that's in the shape of a snail, there's one that's in the shape of a bumblebee, and they're all very pocket-sized and easy to carry around. And I just put my hand in my pocket and I rub them with my thumb and my finger, and it's soothing. Now, the problem with these is that they are not attached to any kind of keychain or any kind of loop. You can buy them, though, pre-drilled so that they can be on a loop or be on a keychain. But I'm thinking I'm going to drill my own. I'm going to just drill them myself, and because I have them. Excuse me. I don't want to pay more for something if I have the thing, if I have the skills to drill it and make it myself. But you can buy worry stones that are pre-attached to keychains and loops and stuff. The same is for fidget spinners, rings, bracelets, toys, calming strips, weighted vests, nail crowns and caps, loop earplugs, sunglasses, poppers, and chewing gum. Yeah, there's spinner rings, there's spinning bracelets. I have a bracelet that I really love that's actually intended to be a necklace, but I wrap it around my wrist a couple times, and it has a bit of resistance to it. It's almost like having a really fancy wire wrapped around. I'm just making it sound terrible, but it's actually very comfortable, and it's shiny, and it almost like it has like if you bend it, it stays in place, and you can bend it back again. It's really kind of nice. It's kind of like a stealth fidget. I like it because it looks like real grown-up jewelry, but it's for fun. Worry stones, calming strips. Now, I've never used the calming strips. I just see them a lot up on my Instagram feed. They look like basically like stickers or rubber band size things Band-Aid size things that you put on surfaces like your laptop or on the back of your phone, and they have like a rough texture, I guess, and you're supposed to rub them. Weighted vests. I've never used a weighted vest. I have a weighted blanket though. But I see that weighted vests and weighted hoodies exist for adults. I probably wouldn't. I said weighted vests and not weighted hoodies because hoodies feel really hot. Like, I feel like they would be, regardless of where you go, they're going to get real warm real fast. Because I know my weighted blanket gets real hot. So, nail crowns and caps. This one is not necessarily specifically designed for fidgeting or for nervous system calming, but I discovered it by accident. My algorithm on my Etsy page recommended them to me, and they're designed as jewelry. They're basically rings that only cover your fingernail, but they're in the shape of your fingernail. So they are, one of the reasons why I prefer this over just putting on acrylic nails is because with acrylic nail, one of my unhealthy fidgets or stims that I developed over the years is nail picking and finger picking, which is, again, gross, and I acknowledge that it is gross and weird and uncomfortable. But it was what I learned to do to deal with nervous energy and stimming. So I find that if I put acrylic nails on, it doesn't really keep me from doing that because they're really on there. And I'm not afraid that they'll pop off or fall off. With the nail caps and the nail crowns, they stay on my fingers well enough that I'm not afraid they're going to fall off, but they also, because they are not as, I guess, rigid or hard or as well set in place as an acrylic nail, it stops me immediately from picking at my fingers with them. So I put one on each pointer finger, and sometimes one on a thumb. I'm looking into getting a whole set. They can be expensive for nicer sets, but you don't have to buy a whole set of 10 to get a benefit out of them, at least if what you're using them for is for preventing nail picking. I find 2 has been good to keep me from picking at my nails. One on each pointer finger. But they also look really rad. Now, congratulations, now you have another jewelry accessory that looks really cool and also serves a therapeutic purpose, or can serve a therapeutic purpose. Loop earplugs. Loop is a brand. I put Loop here, not a sponsored video. Loop earplugs are simply silicone earplugs that they don't have, there's not like you can plug them into a Bluetooth or anything or play music. Those do exist, but these are essentially designed to just, they sit in your ear. They're high quality. When you buy them, they come with, I think, 4 different sizes so that you can adjust them. Like, I actually have one ear hole that is bigger than the other. And so I would always have one ear that would hurt really bad for earplugs. So this allows me to actually have 2 different sizes. And it also has a loop. True to its name, there is a silicone loop attached to the end of it that you can hook earrings to. There is a special, and I'll look for the brand, and I'll post if anybody's interested in them. This is the most brilliant thing, is that there's a company that makes earrings that will hook around the end of the loop earplug, and now you can remove them and put them back in, and you don't have to worry about putting them away or losing them or having them fall out, because they just look like drop earrings now. Congratulations, you have drop earrings. Now, at first they were earplugs, now they're drop earrings. So that's really nice. Sunglasses are just sunglasses. The amazing thing about sunglasses as a tool is that I find that they are really helpful for if you both don't like being stared at, but also like staring at other people, if that makes sense. If you're a people watcher, but you feel guilty about staring at people while you're getting a free show, sunglasses are super fun because you can do that and nobody can see what your eyeballs are doing. Also, the traditional things of like blocking out bright light, and it's also very an unobtrusive way of dealing with overstimulation from lights and indoors and outdoors, because nobody, like, especially as you're traveling, if you're moving through an airport, nobody cares that you're wearing sunglasses inside because they're assuming that you're headed to the beach. You're gonna have a good, you're too busy to worry about, taking your sunglasses off because you're a busy traveler doing travel things, and you want to look cool while you're doing it. Chewing gum is chewing gum. I find chewing gum very helpful. Chewing gum is also helpful if you are in a food desert situation where you are hungry, but you do not have, like, you are not going to have access to safe foods for maybe like an hour or 2, but you're really, really hungry. I find this, I would not use it. I know that sounds like really like diet culture neurotic. I would never suggest it for that. This is more for just getting you to lunch, getting you to the point where you can get to your safe foods, because some people are hungry, but they can't eat because their food is not gonna go down. For people with glasses, yes, prescription sunglasses exist. I have a pair of them. Yes, they do. Many different kinds, many different brands. The brand I use is a company called Shady Rays. I do believe they offer an option to get prescription sunglasses. I don't need the prescription sunglasses, but you can get them from that company. But again, if anyone is interested, I will give more deets at the end here. My glasses turn into sunglasses automatically. Oh, Modbot has sunglasses that do that. That can be kind of annoying sometimes for him. He says that it's kind of weird because the slow change doesn't automatically go, like it takes a little bit of time to adjust back once it's in sunglass mode. Weighted stuffies, vests, wraps can be subbed in for larger blankets. I recently I have a childhood toy that stuffed animal that I sleep with, but they're very light and not very weighted at all. So I recently took the risk of splitting a seam open and I bought some beads, some polyester, basically plastics beads that you use for like bean bags and stuff and weighting down stuffed animals. And I'm filling him with that currently. I have to take, like, I started it and then I got nervous about his seams, so I sewed him up real fast. And when I got nervous, but he's halfway filled. He's much heavier now. Polystyrene? No, that wouldn't be heavy at all. He might float away. I did have to remove some of the polyfiber fill from him in order to fit the beanbag beads into him. Let's see, make a small fidget kit. This is sort of an idea that I came up with on the fly. I don't actually know if it works, and I actually don't know if you'll need help. I don't actually know if you'll need to worry about getting it through security. Because most sensory tools and our fidget toys look just like toys, so they're not, most of them don't have sharp points or blades. Not that, I mean, maybe Chucks do, but but this is an idea sort of as also a way of keeping things together. Like if you have a particular fidget toy that does not is not able to be attached to a keychain or a belt loop, or can't be modified to do that, creating a fidget kit seems like a really great option. Treat it like I would literally just buy another like simple toiletry bag and fill it with my set, whatever I was going to bring with me, the small stuff. And there you go. Bingo, bango, bongo. Medical card to explain the therapeutic nature of the items. This is, I only put this in here because I'm not even sure I don't even sure if it would be a problem, but it's one of those safeguards that I think is easy enough to do. You may not even have to explain to people what it is. I just know that especially in Indian airports, I've seen people pull out some crazy shit from their bags that were not necessarily dangerous, but definitely odd. I saw security pull out an entire peeled cucumber from a woman's bag going through the security line. And I will never forget the look on his face, because even he was like, ma'am, why are you bringing peeled vegetables through security? And I didn't hear what they said because they were far away and they were speaking in Hindi, but I could see her trying to justify. It's like, but I'm going to be cooking as soon as I land the tarmac. You would not deny this poor auntie her ingredients. And the man was like, no, you can't bring a peeled cucumber on the plane. You got to get rid of this shit. If you have, and I state that this list is constantly growing. I'm still learning about fidget tools because I'm only begun using them, like I said, since April, when I really found out that I really got my diagnosis and was starting to look into like things to help calm my nervous system. So these are what I know of. I'm sure there's more. And so if you have any ideas or if you use something as a fidget tool or that is not mentioned here and you think it's a really great option, by the way, by all means, let me know and I'll add it to this list and we can make this presentation better. Breaking neurotypical rules and forging your own path. See, that title would have been way cooler if the font I wanted had worked. So there are a lot of things, and this is getting back to what I was saying earlier about, there's a lot of things that rules in quotes that you read about online that just don't jive with me and have never really been proven to be true or have worked for me. And so and these are things that I think keep people from traveling or make people anxious enough that they will not travel, or they'll travel and not do the things that they want to do because we have these things in mind. So I want to go over these because in my years of travel, this is what I've learned. So the first neurotypical rule is I must do all of the things. I must do everything on this Lonely Planet guide list to visiting India, or otherwise there's no point in going. I must see this thing. I only have one chance to go to Greece. I only have one chance to go to Ireland. I have to see this thing or the whole trip is ruined. What's the point? Like, travel at your own pace, even if that means you see less. There is always more to see. That is what you have to remember. I will never see everything that there is to see that is amazing and worth seeing in any of the places that I love before I die. You will never be disappointed. You will never say, I'm going to go to this thing, if you go to somewhere and you don't get to, let's say you have 2 major things on your list that you wanted to see, and for whatever reason, you don't get to see them. You have 2 choices. You can let that ruin the experiences you do have, or you can actually use it as an opportunity to enjoy the amazing things that you're going to do instead. Because trust me, you can't not get out of your comfort zone when you start to travel a lot. You'll never be able to see everything there is to see in your own city, state, region, let alone another country. Exactly. So don't get hung up on a mythological list of, not mythological, but like a aspirational list of things you have to see just because that's what everybody has seen and you've got to see it. Don't let fear of missing out force you into overextending yourself. You'll make yourself miserable. You will have more fun. It is better to see fewer things and have fewer experiences and actually enjoy yourself than to rush through a list just to check off some boxes. I this was part of when I was mentioning the friends I met up with in India at one point. One of the things that made the friend of a friend such a kind of a miserable person to travel with is because she had one of these lists. She literally showed it to me. She's like, I have to see these things. And she wasn't getting a chance to see them. Things were coming up, you know, plans were working out. She couldn't, time was not on our side. And she spent the last day we had pouting in our shared Airbnb because what's the point of going out? She's not going to get to see what she wants to see anyway. I feel like that's a terrible waste. Like, it's okay to be disappointed and to grieve the loss of the thing that you really desperately wanted to see. And that's fine. But you try to see if you can push that grieving off till when you get home and let yourself enjoy what you are able to do. You know, and if you get home and your neurotypical friends are like, didn't you see that thing? Didn't you do the thing? Then say, no, I didn't get around to it. But you know what? I had an amazing time. I met these people. I went out to eat at this place. I got randomly invited to a wedding for people I had never met before. Like, there are all kinds of ways you'll be surprised. You will be very surprised no matter where you go. To give an Irish example, me and Modbot went to Ireland last October, and this trip for Modbot was his third trip, and it was the third time going to this particular region, and he has never seen the Cliffs of Moher. There's a beautiful cliff view there, a seaside cliff view that is very famous, and every time he has gone in the past, it has been fogged out, and he couldn't see it. So this was going to be his chance, this visit. And it was a torrential downpour. And at first I said to him, no, we're going to go. It'll be rainy. We'll get a little wet, but who gives a shit? We'll go see it. I bet we could still see it. And he's like, I don't want to get soaked I'm not going to be able to enjoy it. I'm going to be there. We're going to be wet and cold. And assuming we can even see it through the rain, it's not the way I want to see it. I'd rather, see it in pictures and kind of dream about it in pictures rather than make myself miserable and like ruin that whole idea and that experience. We may never get another chance to go to Ireland, but he said, yeah, I feel bummed about it, but we're still going to have a good time. We're still going to have a good time. And we did. We had an amazing time. You're never going to see everything you want to see. But that's also the good news. You're never going to run out of things to see. So don't worry about it. Neurotypical rule number 2, see the quote real blank. I hate this with the fiery passion of 1,000 sun dragons. I don't know. There's no such thing. Spoiler alert, everybody. It's all real. The real Ireland, it's all real, guys. The real India, 100%. Unless you're high as balls at the time, it's all real. I have had some fascinating experiences in, downtown Dublin. People would say, it's just another city. It's just a city, it's another city. Yeah, it is another city, but it's a different city. It has the same quality as a city that you might know, but it's not the same city. I had a couple of hours before I had to really get ready to go to my flight home when I was in Delhi. And so I didn't have a ton of time, but I didn't just want to hang out in my hotel room. I had the energy. So I decided, you know what, there's this big fucking mall nearby, and it's probably going to be like every fucking mall and anywhere in any city, anywhere else. And I was like, but you know what? I'm curious. Let's go. It was fascinating. Yeah, because there's going to be like, oh, look, a Starbucks. Okay, congratulations, you found the Starbucks. But like, there's also like there are brands that you will never see. And it's just, it's a people watching extravaganza. It's you will get, yes, and we'll talk about this part where like they're not going to expect to see you there because particularly in India, they're gonna be like, why is the white person at the mall? Shouldn't they be over at the Red Fort? Are you lost, sweetheart? Do you need directions? No, I'm here on purpose. You will have amazing. And also this is coming from somebody who has seen both the real Ireland and the real India, quote unquote. the cost of getting to the real or seeing the real can be quite high. The real side of a country may end up being more taxing on your nervous system and require more recovery time. Some of the most interesting experiences I have ever had have been traveling in big cities, malls, and sites popular with tourists. Let's see, my friend missed out on a lot of typical Tokyo tourist haunts, but he got to spend a day helping teach kindergarten students. Worth it. Exactly! That's a perfect example, Bentai. I'm in a torrential downpour right now. Oh no. Well, the upside is you're caught in the torrential downpour, but you're here in our hearts as well. Can't wait to show Luna and Cannon and Twig the real Vegas. Hot and full of disease. I have seen, so it is not to say that the quote unquote real side of any country is not worth seeing if you are neurodivergent and you're easily overwhelmed, or if you're willing to take the challenge and you want to see those things. If you want to get out in rural India and you want to be in the middle of buttfuck nowhere with a hope and a dream, and that's exciting to you, by all means do that thing. I have done that thing. I don't regret it. They were very hard though. They were very difficult experiences. I was lucky to be with, have a friend who was familiar with the area that could show me, but it was still extremely difficult. It's going to be, I mean, you really got to be ready to be out of your comfort zone. But that just brings me back to, you can have a good time and have an amazing time and see the quote unquote real side of something, of a place, regardless. The reason why tourist attractions are tourist attractions is because the reason why they're popular is there's a reason. The reason why everybody goes to see the Taj Mahal is because it's amazing. It is incredible. I don't recommend going inside. That's a little bit of a bummer, but the exterior is insane. There's a reason people go. So if you want to go see it, don't let somebody tell you, oh, well, that's not the real India. Gosh, it's teeming with tourists. Yeah, because it's worth fucking seeing, asshole. I even have a soft spot in my heart for tourist traps. As long as you know what you're getting into, a tourist trap can be a good time. You just have to be prepared accept the fact that that's what's happening, what you're getting into. And to neurotypical rule number 3, and this one is the most puzzling to me, blend in with the locals. Why though? I hate this rule and I will never understand it. I have never understood it. It usually comes up in the context of language learning. They're like, learn if you're learning French to go to France, make sure you get the accent right so you can blend in with the locals. Why? Why though? Neurodivergent folks have a hard enough time masking at home. Don't kill yourself trying to do it abroad. You think you have a hard time, if you put a standard on yourself that you're gonna try and mingle with the locals in a real palsy-walsy kind of way, and you're gonna and somehow that's gonna improve your experience, and if they don't know that you're a tourist, that you're gonna get some kind of sort of insight that you wouldn't normally get, I promise you, if that's true, it's not worth the show you're gonna have to put on and the energy you're going to have to expend. Locals want to get to know you. If they want to hang out with locals, they hang out with locals. If you are in a touristy area and you meet locals and they want to talk to you, it's because they want to talk to you. You can enjoy local spaces and scenes without bending over backwards to fit in. Be respectful, ask questions, but don't feel bad if you stick out as an obvious tourist, because you are. This even feels silly to say in the context of India, because as a white person, as a white individual, there's no way I'm fitting in. So there's a bit of freedom because I have felt no inclination to even attempt. I will dress in a respectful manner. I will speak Hindi the best I can. But I'm not going to pretend. I'm not going to jump in on a discussion about politics, local politics with someone at the coffee shop because that's what locals do. Because fuck if I have any horse in that race. That's just annoying. I feel like that would just be annoying. What the fuck are you doing? Get out of here. You don't... What are you talking about? Accents are the only difference between locations. If you hide your accent, no one will possibly know you're not from the location by any of these questions you ask or the way that you dress or act. Well, and that's why that advice has always been confusing to me. It's people aren't dumb. I mean, they are, but they're not that dumb. They'll know who you are. They'll figure it out. And they'll also figure out what you're trying to do, and that will probably annoy them more than you just kind of being yourself. I will say, there's a lot of contradictions to being a neurodivergent person who is easily overwhelmed but who also enjoys a place like India, because India is a real sensory overload. But what is also good in a social perspective is that, or from a social expectation perspective, is that there's no way I'm hiding that I'm a tourist. And because I'm a tourist, they don't expect me to get it right. At home in the United States, I'm expected to behave and act and follow a certain set of routines and not stim and not have weird patterns of speech. In India, they expect me to be weird. They expect me to be different, because why wouldn't I be? And so there's a bit of a freeing aspect to being neurodivergent in a place like that's so different, like India, because the expectations have changed entirely. Yeah, my white ass would never blend in with Japan. If anything, it's a boon, because then if I mess up, I can pull the gaijin card. This is exactly what I'm talking about. When I, it's a little bit different. Like when I'm visiting, a place like Ireland, if you tell them you're American, they're like, fuck yes. They're so fucking excited. Like, they want to know. Because inevitably, you tell somebody in Ireland that you're from the U.S., you could lie about where you're from. You could say, I'm from a town in East Jesus. I'm from here. I'm from there. You could lie to them. And no matter where you tell them you're from, they will have a cousin or a relative or a friend that left Ireland to live there many a year ago. And they will tell you all about that person. And they'll say, do you know such and so who worked with what's and where? And you'll be like, sure. And so that has its own kind of fun element to it, because a lot of the Irish are very social and generally very friendly and very talkative. And so they will kind of take the pressure off of you to talk. If you're not a big talker, they will happily work with whatever shred of answers you give them, and they will go. They're off and running. So Ireland is really good for a place that has feelings that are a little, like, it feels familiar, but it's still different enough that you're on vacation. Yeah, well, what I'm going to try and do is steal their wallet, so as long as I don't figure that out, I should be fine. Listen, Fig, I feel like wherever you go, people are going to be expecting you to steal something, whether that's a wallet or their soul, because you are, in fact, a horse skull in a blanket. Oh, Wither, thanks. You don't have to be on duty, but thank you. Garandam teed. If I went back to Ireland, I could probably hunt down some old ancient relative on my mom's side. Hot damn, you could. Hot damn. So yeah, there's no need to worry about doing everything, seeing the, quote, real part of anywhere, because it's all real, and blending in with the locals. Just have a good time. Like I said, learn about the local customs, what is acceptable in terms of, like, interaction between, there's some places have a lot of rules between men and women. Even in Ireland, there's sort of at least with the older generation, there's sort of a patriarchal, like, a weird sort of, like, it's different than it is here. I mean, here it's obviously alive and well, but there it's structured differently. It appears differently. So do a lot of research on that point, and that's just interesting. Don't stress out about it, because again, most people don't expect you to get it right. If you make a mistake and you make a snafu, as long as you are apologetic and sincere, people are really generous. So. Used to being on duty. That's old. It's old hat to you. Common concerns and coping strategies. Social overwhelm. Common neurodivergent issue. Crowds. Time your meals, shopping sites, and site visits to occur at slow times, usually early. A lot of places in the world, other than the US, eat much later. Eat their meals much later than we do. So even, for example, in India, they don't really eat breakfast until about 10 a.m. And then they don't really eat lunch until, then they'll have like lunch at like 2, and then they'll eat dinner at like 8. I think with Ireland, it's a little different. Ireland, they start around, dinner is available at like 5, but most people don't seem to be going in and eating it till like 7:30. So do research on when people generally eat their meals out. Do research on when tourist sites do you want to visit, when they are open, when they are the most likely to be busy. In general, though, going earlier to something is better than going later, or trying to get to it at the very end of the day. I would eat my breakfast. I liked eating, in Ireland especially, or not Ireland, in India especially, I liked to eat my breakfast unperturbed, uninterrupted. Don't chat, no chitty-chatting, don't want to talk to anybody. So I would eat my breakfast at the Airbnb restaurant. Usually it's a rooftop situation. I would go be there as early as the kitchen was open. So I'd be there at 8 a.m. and I would eat my breakfast in absolute silence. And I'd be the only one in there. And the waiter would come by, take my order, go away, come back, and like not even like they would there because I was the only one there. I didn't have to. He didn't have to keep checking on me, and I didn't have to keep like looking for him to come check on me. It was just like, okay, I would just turn around and be like, can I get some more chai, please? It's nice. I do the same for dinners. I would eat dinner early before everybody else, and then when you meet people, everybody else is eating, and you're like, oh, but that's got to be awkward, right? Well, no, you just order some drinks. Just have some drinks, and then you don't have to like, if you have dietary restrictions, or if you have, or if you feel self-conscious about your safety foods, then you don't have to worry about trying to explain why you're only eating white rice and scrambled eggs, because that's all that you can tolerate. You don't have to worry about it. You enjoy it, and then you have drinks with people. Loud noises. Headphones and earplugs are your friend. This may seem obvious. This is applicable anywhere you go. Anywhere you travel, if you are sensitive to noise, whether you need noise like a fan, that's important to keep in mind. Or if you are traveling during festival season and there's a lot of fireworks popping off all day long, and in India, they will pop off all day long. You are going to want headphones or earplugs. There are also particularly noisy, just street life can be particularly noisy and loud. This is just going to help you a lot in navigating busier places. Because if you don't have, because I didn't know I was autistic, I didn't bring earplugs or sunglasses with me on any of my India trips. And I couldn't figure out why. Even though I loved going to all of the markets and the bazaars and seeing the energy and seeing the activity, I could not understand why it was also so incredibly draining and incredibly overwhelming to me. Because I was like, why? I enjoy this, but it's also incredibly just overwhelming to me. Why can't I deal with this? And part of it was that I was bombarded by just auditory stimulus and visual stimulus all the time. And it's important to be mindful of that. Having these tools to your disposal will help you it says this is going to sound terrible, endure the difficult parts of these experiences so that you get to have more time to do the things that you like to do, and so that you can tolerate a little bit more the unpleasant parts of it, and you don't become overwhelmed as much. Yeah, I regret not bringing some form of ear protection when I toured a power tool factory a couple of months ago. You toured a power tool factory? That's kind of cool. That reminds me of like the show How It's Made. I had a similar issue with doing concerts when I was younger. By the end, I was starting to spiral into a depression. Yeah, it sucked. It sucks when you enjoy something that also completely wipes you. It was for Japanese class. Cool. Yes. So unexpected invitations. Wait, staring. It's complicated. Let's talk. And so let's do it both at the same time. Staring and unexpected invitations. Now, these will happen. Staring not in Ireland, not so much. That's more of an India thing. Unexpected invitations will happen in both places, though. You will be invited to somebody's birthday party. You may be invited to a wedding in India. I was invited to a wedding unexpectedly. And that is like deer in the headlights terror. Because it's meant with so much love, and it's so kind and just so wonderful that they've known you for 10 minutes and they're like, please come to my daughter's wedding. I don't have a gift. They're like, don't fucking worry about it. In Ireland, it's more of like a, stick around for the after music session. It's what you can, the best, it's like I said, it's complicated. With staring again is more of an issue in India. There's really no, I thought about this for a long time. There's no way around this because particularly if you are obviously white, if you are not racially ambiguous, if you are white, if you are very clearly not Indian, you follow on either end of the spectrum. If you are black, if you are white, I have heard stories of people who are Hispanic getting away with this and not getting stared at. But if you are clearly of a different ethnic origin, you will get stared at. And this is something that is common regardless of if you're in a big city or if you are in a rural area. Everybody stares. And it's not malicious. It is not meant to be intrusive or rude. It's just literally there's different social standard for, we think of it as rude to stare too long. Like, it's weird. We've got to make eye contact when we're talking to people, but if we're not talking to people, you don't stare at them. You don't. But there's a lot of staring. My best advice to you is to wear sunglasses. And this is what, how the fuck does that help? That's covering my eyeballs. What wearing sunglasses can do psychologically is it can create almost like the illusion of a barrier between you and that person's gaze. And I find it comforting. Obviously, like I said, I did not know I was autistic until very recently. So I have never used this technique in India, but I have used it in other places here in the States traveling where, I didn't want to be noticed. I felt exposed or I felt vulnerable, and it lends itself a certain, it's an illusion. It's an illusion, but it's psychologically useful. It's better than sitting there and like, feeling like you have to say something or feeling like you've got to address them. You don't have to feel like you have to address anything or say anything. But that is going to be, I will say, there's not a whole lot you can do about that. That is a reality, especially for a place like India, that you kind of just have to be prepared for and make allowances for the fact that if that is a trigger for you, or if that is emotionally exhausting for you to know that people are staring at you, to plan we'll talk about planning your days, structuring your days to allow for downtime. But you're going to need downtime for that. There are going to be things that are unavoidable. There is definitely going to be sensory overload, regardless of where you go. You can go to anywhere in Europe, go to anywhere in the United States, domestically, and there'll be at moments where there is no way for you to escape the overwhelm, and that's okay. The point is knowing how to take care of yourself when that happens. So another common concern in their coping strategies, access to safety foods. I didn't finish social overwhelm. Bartering and shopping. Visit fixed price shops, government-run shops, or shop when locations look busy. Busy locations equal less individual attention directed at you. This has been useful to me regardless of where I visited. This was useful in Ireland. This was useful in Florida. This is useful in India. There are there's a lot of bartering that happens in India, but there are also, it's very common every major city will have a fixed price government-run shop. And what that means is that these are handicrafts or local artist made products that you can purchase that have a fixed price to them. You don't have to barter. You don't have to know the rules. You don't have to worry about that. And you're still going to be able to bring home a souvenir that is handmade, and you're going to get a fair price for it. This last bit of information is a little bit seems like counterproductive. Go to a location when it's busy, when you have crowd issues. The reason why this is helpful is because if you go to a shop when it's quiet, or when you're the only one there and there's it's just you and the shopkeeper, or you and the proprietor, if you don't want to talk and you don't want to have products brought out, paraded in front of you, you just want to look, I just want to look, I just want to peruse at my own pace, I just want to look, I don't even know if I want to buy anything, I'm just looking, and you don't want to be bothered. It's much easier to do that when there are other people for the shopkeeper to be distracted by. So it is much easier to excuse yourself as well in a situation where there are other people, other patrons that the person that's running the shop can be distracted by. I use this a lot. I use that here in small shops. I'd be like, if I peer into the window of a shop and I'm like, there's nobody else in there but the shopkeeper, I'm like, I'm gonna hold off and wait for somebody else to go in there. Access to safety foods. Bring favorite dry snacks. This is a kind of a general travel advice that gets thrown around in even just neurotypical advice, but I find it's worth noting here. Granola bars, even like bread. If you are like, I love just eating tortillas plain without anything in them, just soft tortilla wraps. I know that drives Modbot crazy. I don't care. I like it. It's tasty and it's safe. Large and medium-sized cities will always have major U.S. fast food chains, and menus will almost always have a continental section. Continental equals boring white people food. That is true. That is true in both places like Ireland that I've been to, and also in India. They'll even say outside the restaurant or the hotel, continental menu, continental food. Dinner, continental food for dinner, they will be out there with it. And what that means is that their continental translates into things that you're used to seeing at home. Spaghetti and meatballs, although in India it'll probably be chicken. It's going to be scrambled eggs. It's going to be God, what else? It's going to be like a tuna sandwich or a turkey sandwich. It's going to be pizza. It's going to be a chicken sandwich. I mean, it's going to be things that you are used to seeing. So that's always a good bet. You will also, like, major cities, and even like, I'm talking like McDonald's and Pizza Hut, and there's going to be also another good thing to remember is that there's also they have their own food delivery services. So they have their version of DoorDash. They have Grubhub. So if you don't want to leave your room, like you're having an off day and you want to stay inside, you can get your safety food delivered to you. So this is things that don't let this particular anxiety prevent you from traveling to places that you would deem to be out of your comfort zone. There is a Pizza Hut within the site of the pyramids of Egypt. Yes, I believe it. Small towns and rural villages will have bland options reserved for upset stomachs. It is common for things like white rice and plain Greek yogurt. I say Greek, but it's just plain unflavored yogurt to be on hand in most Indian cities and towns, because that's what people eat when they have an upset stomach or diarrhea or they're sick and they can't eat anything else. They have just Whitington from Whitetown, USA. The brat diet. Yes, exactly. Bananas. Yeah, they'll bananas. And you can, I mean, it's not gonna, they'll have, listen, like a breakfast menu in India is gonna have eggs and toast and omelets on it. So don't feel like you gotta give up, or you gotta be some sort of a culinary daredevil if you don't want to be. And that's another thing. People will say, neurotypical, this goes back to like the subject of like, you gotta try the local food. Why? only if you want to. What's the point of doing it? Yeah, I love trying. I personally like to try the local food, but there's no point in doing it if it is going to make you miserable. Like, it's only an amazing experience if it's an amazing experience. Like, otherwise you're torturing yourself. Getting around. Stay in locations where you can reach lots of amenities on foot. This is, if you're nervous about hailing a cab or taking a tuk-tuk, or you don't feel comfortable taking the local transit, like like Delhi has a subway, a very efficient subway system, but I didn't use it the couple times I went because I was terrified of getting lost. Or it was too busy. Like, I was like, oh fuck, it's gonna be so fucking busy, I can't handle it. It is super fucking busy, by the way. I did go on it, very pleasant experience in terms of like getting to where I needed to go and efficiency and stuff, but it is super fucking busy, and crowded all the time. I'm learning a lot of stuff. Thanks for this, Luna. Oh, I'm glad, Cannon. I did my delivery out without getting wet, even though I drove through a bunch of rain to get to the rain. Take that, rain. I'm glad you're learning a bunch. I'm happy. I didn't know how useful. I sort of figured that if this wasn't useful to anybody else, that this was sort of a version of me thinking out loud to myself about, how can I make traveling for myself easier in the future, and more like reflection on why was it so hard for me in the past. I tell you, I traveled to India 5 times, but I also had meltdowns on several occasions, despite loving to go. And I just thought it was because I was a big baby. But no, there were actual neurological reasons why it was hard. And so now my hope is that I can make it easier for myself moving forward, and maybe it'll make it easier for other people too. So staying in a place that you can get to a lot of amenities on foot in a major city. The first place I ever stayed in India on my own was the most chaotic, busy neighborhood in town. When I tell people my Indian friends, that's where I stayed, they're like, why the fuck did you stay there? There's a Hilton down a mile away that's much, much nicer. I'm like, I know that, but I wanted to be able to like easily reach things on foot. There's a certain level of control over your day and your schedule if you only go on foot. You can get really far on foot in a day. You'd be surprised. Gonna share the VOD with a friend of mine. Her immediate family has some neurotypical folk. Oh, that would be wonderful. Oh, I would love to hear what they think. If it was helpful or if it was not helpful. Even if it was not helpful, if they're like, this is bullshit. This is crap. I want to know. Hire a private driver. That sounds expensive and fancy, Luda. I don't have that kind of money. Why the fuck would you suggest that? You know why? Because there's something there. Well, yes and no. Yes, it can be expensive in a place like Ireland. Absolutely, it will be expensive. This all comes down to your budget and what you're willing to divert funds to. And it also is unfortunately related to, because we're talking about neurodiversity, it is sort of related to like the idea of a disability tax. If you have a disability, you will inevitably pay more because the world's not built for you, so all of the things that you need are considered luxuries. And so this is kind of what that's about. In Ireland, we met a couple that me and Modbot we had rented our car and we were driving around Ireland, but we met a couple, an American couple that had hired a driver to who was going to drive them around in a private car to all the places they wanted to go. And I didn't ask them how much it cost, but I can imagine thousands of dollars, because they would have to pay for his food and his place that he's staying and just the general service of doing it. And so yes, that's expensive. Hire a private driver in India is a much different scenario. Now, I will say that I have not been to India since about 9 months before the lockdown happened here, where I'm staying in the beautiful state of California. But up until that point, hiring a private car and a driver to go places in India was insanely cheap, unfathomably cheap. To give you an idea, I wanted to go to a bunch of places around Delhi the first time I was there, and I didn't want to take public transportation. And I also didn't want to worry about whether or not I was going to be able to get a tuk-tuk once I reached a place, because I had no idea how far away these things were relative to busy parts of town. I was new there. I wanted to make sure that I had transportation no matter what. So I called a company that I had read about that had female drivers that would take you wherever you wanted to go. Absolutely fully custom. If you tell them, I want to go here, 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 and here today, they will take you, and you can spend as long as you want in any of those places. And then they give you a price. And it's a price per hour, or for a certain chunk of hours. I had a driver, and she was wonderful. She was so fun, for 8 hours. And I went to, I think, maybe 3 or 4 different places and spent as much time as I wanted at any of those places. And then she brought me home. It worked out to, with tip, because I wanted to give her a nice tip in proportion to what I think the actual cost of it. If I didn't tip her, it would have cost me $30 US. And I'm not joking. $30. That's insanity. That's bonkers banana pants. I think I ended up paying 50 because I gave her a big honkin' tip. It's a Ness! It's a Loch Ness monster! Welcome, Ness. How are you? But yes, footnote, be careful about tipping depending on where you go in the world. This is very true. This is worth noting. Tipping is a whole subject, especially while traveling, that it deserves its own stream. In India, I tip well because it not only are they doing the same work that what the work they're doing is something that they would have been paid drastically more for here. People are like, oh, but cost of living is so lower. Yeah, but it's still a lot of fucking work. It's still a lot of work. It's a lot of time. And that's stressful work too. Driving somebody around a city like Delhi, one person all day, that is stressful work. Being responsible for their safety to an extent, that's a lot of work and that's a lot of stress. So, whereas in Ireland, for example, don't tip. Not really. I mean, tip for some things, but don't tip a bartender because that's or a waiter necessarily, because that's, I guess, offensive. That can be offensive because they actually get paid a living wage. But yeah, I guess my point is, when you're doing your research, don't dismiss the possibility offhand of doing something like hiring a private driver. It's going to sound expensive, but there's no reason. I mean, if you say, I want a private driver to take me around France for a week, probably going to be expensive, but might as well let yourself dream a little bit and figure out, get the numbers, crunch the numbers at least. I'm always a big fan of, you can always dial it back. Imagine the absolute most amazing trip you could possibly take. You're going to go on a hot air balloon ride, and you're going to go off the edge of a waterfall in a wheelbarrow? No, in a wheelbarrow. You're gonna eat the finest cakes with the Prince of Udaipur in Rajasthan. You're gonna race. You're gonna be in the camel races at the Pushkar Camel Fair. Put it all in the list. Make it all a part of it. You could always dial it back. You could always trim the fat. Don't hold yourself back right away just because you're pretty certain you can't afford it. I find a lot of the pleasure of a trip is the planning. So let yourself enjoy the planning. I drive for a living, and driving in Delhi would scare me. Yes, I don't recommend it. I've never driven in it. I have watched people drive in it. I have been driven in through it, and I can't. I don't know. It makes me. I get stressed out. Sitting in the back seat. In the most skilled, even with the most skilled of drivers. Don't be afraid to take the easier option, taking a 1-hour domestic flight instead of a 7-hour car or train ride. Again, this can be applicable to Ireland and Europe as well. If India, anywhere really, if you want to go somewhere and it is a 7-hour drive, and it's like $30 cheaper than taking a domestic flight, just take the flight. The time you're going to save, the hassle you're going to save by just taking the easy option and getting where you need to go is worth it. I have taken trains in India. I have taken planes in India. I have taken tuk-tuks and cars. My personal preference, and also this is going to depend on whether you feel like, you know, if going on a bus is easier for you mentally because you're not like the only person there, and you don't feel like with a driver, like, is he going to want to talk to me the whole time? And I don't want to talk if it's just me and a driver rather than like a bus full of people. Like, if that's is that your type of stressor, then obviously you would be okay to take a bus over a car or, but a plane, my preference is to always get to the place I want to be as quickly as possible so that I have as much time as I need to both wind down when I get there and enjoy the stuff I want to see when I get there. I don't want to, like, to me, I'm not big on, there are certain places where I'm like, I'm not big on the scenic ride. I'm not big on the scenery. I'll go see scenery. Like, if there's a famous waterfall here, I'll go to that waterfall, but I want to fly to the city that's closest to the waterfall. I don't want to drive to the waterfall from 9 hours away. I promise I will not show off my sick initial D skills in Vegas. What does that mean? Initial D? Initial dick? I don't know. What does that mean? The slang? Is that a sex thing? But yes, don't be afraid. I find domestic travel in India, I often take flights. I take domestic flights to get where I want to go. You can take yourself, I've taken like 7-hour bus rides, overnight bus rides. Not the most comfortable. Not the worst, but not the best, for sure. Structuring your days. Break your time up into active and wind down time. This means that if you spend a whole day running around to different tourist attractions that you really want to see, or if you spend a lot of time socializing during one day, plan to make your next day I'm going to stay at the hotel, or I'm going to find a park in the city and I'm going to spend my afternoon there. I'm going to do very low energy, 0 to low energy activities. Let yourself recover. Do not let the pressure of FOMO make you feel like, oh, well, I'm paying for this vacation. I should be out seeing all of the things. A vacation is only a vacation if it's a vacation. I know that sounds dumb, but if it is only a vacation insofar as you allow yourself to relax. So if you're not allowing yourself to relax and recuperate, it's not a vacation. It's not relaxing. Don't feel like you've got to knock off a bunch of things off a list. It's a street racing anime. Oh, the opposite. There's no tentacles involved at all. Buffer your trip. Add at least one day to the end of your trip for the vacation from your vacation day. This is, again, I acknowledge that this is highly based on your ability to afford to take extra time off. It is a privilege to be able to have a vacation and to travel at all. And if you really got a really narrow window where you leave work, get on a plane, go on vacation, come back and go to work the next morning, you're not going to have this opportunity. And, which is unfortunate because I really recommend it if you're able to do it. Whatever amount of time you want to be in a place. Let's say you want to be in a place for 2 weeks. Add 2 days, add a day or two to that. And those are your days where you're back home or you're traveling home and you're giving yourself decompression time, which is, as a neurodivergent person, we know that it is extremely necessary. And this is going to allow you also to reflect on your trip a little bit. It's going to allow you to, kind of revel in the memories, to start revel in the memory of it and kind of extend it almost a little bit to say like, wow, that was really amazing when I did this. And wow, that was fun when I did that. And oh, that really sucked when this happened. And but it was okay anyway. Like it's important. I always try to add buffer days if I'm able to. Health and safety. Ah, yes, health and safety. There's a lot of health and there's a lot of it. Now, this is where you really have to do your homework, because every country you visit is going to be different. There's going to be vaccine requirements. There's going to be, what's available to you in terms of medical care. There's going to be cost differences. So that's where I really recommend you have to do your homework. This really is about, this is very bare bones, basic stuff right now. But I find that this is helpful, and because neurodivergent, we want to plan, we want to be aware, we want to be prepared as much as possible. Here's what I would have for my general advice. Have at least 2 hospitals please have a list of at least 2 hospitals in any city where you are staying. I would emphasize also hospitals, but also if in places like India, make sure they are what are known as private hospitals. You do not, under any circumstances, want to be, unless it is the direst of dire circumstances, like you're bleeding out on the sidewalk, you do not want to go to a state hospital. And that is somebody speaking as somebody who was sort of taken to a state hospital in India at one point. Let's just say it was the source of one of many of my few big meltdowns. But state hospitals serve a very important purpose. They are all state hospitals in India are free of charge. And so they are frequented by the people who cannot afford healthcare any other way, which is great. It's a great resource that it's there. The problem is that they are obviously overburdened and underfunded. And that leads to very, unfortunately, not the most sanitary situations and conditions all the time. And that is kind of not the best in terms of like your mental health, in terms of your confidence, and also, assurance that you are getting the medicine that you need or the care that you need. So the reason why I say private hospitals is private hospitals will cost more. But when I say they'll cost more, I mean they won't be free. You'll go in the day of, if you're sick or you're bleeding out your ass, or you have rabies or whatever, you'll pay a manageable amount of money. I had to go to the hospital the first week I was in Delhi, the second time I visited India, and I got an appointment the day of. It was for I had an unfortunate infection, let's just say, and I got an appointment the day of. I went in, they saw me right away. I got an exam. I was given a prescription. I got my prescription downstairs. My medicine came to the total of 72 cents US, and the cost of my visit was $35. Not money I wanted to spend. Not a small amount for a lot of people, but manageable, and not the 500 to 2,000 digit amount it might have been if it were a U.S. hospital. And the conditions are much cleaner and more well kept. And that's just, this is a general tip from experience. I also have a moral kind of belief, like it comes from a moral place where I'm like, I paid thousands of dollars for an airplane ticket to get to this country where there are lots and lots of impoverished people that need medical care. I can afford to visit the private hospital and let there be an empty bed in the state-run hospital for somebody who desperately needs it and can't afford it any other way. So there is that element to it. The one time where I was taken by a friend, an Indian friend, to the state hospital because I didn't know any better. Because I didn't have a list of hospitals. I did not have a list of resources. I was sick, and I was trying to, on the fly, with my phone, Google tippity-tappity hospital, expat hospital, or, well-reviewed hospital in such and such a city. And I was sick. I was just very sick. I was too far gone to really be doing that late in the game. So she's like, oh no, don't worry about it. I'll take you to the perfect hospital. I'll take you. And so she was being very generous, and she was doing her best to help me. And so I have no complaint there, but I would not have, by choice, I would not have visited. I would not have gotten healthcare from that hospital, because I was deliriously sick at this point, and I had to explain to a doctor that did not understand English in Hindi, in the limited Hindi that I had, what was wrong. And then he decided based on that that I should get an injection. And I didn't know what that injection was for months after I got home, because I did not receive a receipt. I did not get any written thing like, here's what happened here. He was just like, oh, don't worry about it. We'll give you a shot. Oh. So I was in tears. I was like, I'm going to die. This is how I die. This is how I die. This was total meltdown. This was total, like, dreaded meltdown for me. I was in tears. I was like, I'm going to get some really bad infection. And obviously I was overreacting, but I was also not overreacting. Like I was, But anyway, I'm rambling now. But anyway, that's my have a list of at least 2 hospitals in any city where you're staying that have good reviews, seem to be popular with expats or tourists. Carry an emergency medical card that lists your allergies, emergency contacts, and medical needs, ideally in English and the local language. This is a bit... I'll get to that section when we get to the dreaded autistic meltdown part of the slide. It's always good to have that information on you in case you are incapacitated and you can't, or because you can't verbalize what you need. I'm currently working on a medical card for myself. I'm trying to work on one I'm designing it myself because I wanted to have English and Hindi on it for when I go to, my plan is to go to India in November. So I want to have it in 2 languages. Let's see, carry your hotel's business card on you or write down your accommodation's address, phone number, and contact name for the owner or manager. What is really amazing about India is that a lot of places will give you their business card. A lot of locations that you stay, Airbnbs, hotels, will give you a business card. And on one side, it's all the business card stuff. But on the opposite side is a tiny map. It's very common for there to be a tiny map of where your hotel is located near a major thoroughfare or near a major tourist attraction in relationship to those things. So that if you encounter somebody who does not speak English or you are not able to communicate for whatever reason or another, you can give that to a tuk-tuk driver or a shopkeeper, and they will be able to get you back to your accommodations, at least. At the bare minimum, they'll get you back to where all your shit is, basically. So that is, I find, but if you don't have that, if your hotel's business card doesn't have that on it, keep a piece of paper on you that has that shit written on it. And that is going to be kind of a fail-safe for you. A basic first aid kit will vary with your needs, but Band-Aids, antiseptic, and pain medication are a good starting point. In most places you visit, this applies to both India and Europe, and places in Europe I've been, and in the US and Canada, you will never really be far from a pharmacy. You're never gonna not be able to get ibuprofen, for example. You're never gonna not be able to get Zyrtec or some form of allergy medication, something like that. However, I find that having those things, those very basic things, is very psychologically comforting to have. Things like antiseptic are extremely comforting to have. If you scrape your knee, you fall on an uneven cobblestone street, or you slip in cow shit, which is something that is a very high possibility in Ireland and India. It is psychologically comforting, and it doesn't take a lot of space, and it's just good for your brain bits to have that on you. And then if you want to buff it out, once you reach wherever you're going, if you want to pad it out with specific things that you want, pad it out. Or if you have prescription medications that you need, that's going to be particular to you. So the general advice is bring your medications in the original bottles that they come in, or bring them with a written prescription so that you have that on you if you need it. I had an unfortunate scenario where I I was traveling from one point in India to another. I was traveling from North India to South India, and I left my prescription medication in Northern India. And the side effects for this medication, missing this medication after about 24 hours, is like dizziness and nausea and really unpleasant headaches. And it was setting me up for a really bad time, basically. But I had the name of not the brand name, because the brand names are going to be different. You want the formulation name. So, for example, you don't want to say I need Tylenol, or you don't want to say I need, basically like ibuprofen is not a brand name, it's a formulation name. You want to say, like, the particular drug that I needed was called venlafaxine. That's the formulation name. It has many different brand names, but that's the formulation name, because the formulation name you can take to a pharmacist anywhere and they will be able to know what that is, what that country's version of that drug is. They will be able to find it for you. And that's what I was able to do. I asked my host where a larger pharmacy would be. It was relatively nearby, walking distance. I took that name. I said, I need this in this amount of milligrams for however much you're willing to give me, basically. I said I didn't know how many I needed, how many they were going to let me have. And I didn't have a prescription. Like, I did not have proof that I had been prescribed this by a doctor. And so I was nervous they weren't going to give it to me. But I gave them a piece of paper with the formulation on it and the milligram amount on it. And they came back and they gave me a 10-day supply, which was enough to get me through my visit to South India and back to North India. So it worked out in the end, but I was fortunate that was all stuff that I had to figure out on the fly. And I would have liked to have saved myself that spending like half of a day figuring that problem out. Instead of doing that, I would have rather have just been doing something I enjoyed in where I was staying. So this is going to save you. Do these sorts of things save you time and create opportunities for you to do what save yourself time, save yourself a hassle. Yes, you can find those prescriptions. Yes, there's pharmacies, but if you can save yourself the hassle and the time, why wouldn't you, right? So the dreaded autistic meltdown and shutdown. This is tricky because when I've had shutdowns and meltdowns in the past, I have either already been in my hotel room or in my accommodation when I finally kind of cracked, or I was, like I said, being ushered and rushed to a hospital by friends that I knew well. So it's a bit going to be very experience specific. But what I would say is, if you are not already at your accommodation, return to your accommodation as soon as possible. Whatever you're doing, if you are overwhelmed and you're having a meltdown and you cannot handle it right now, get yourself into a tuk-tuk, get yourself into a taxi, say, take me to here right now, and they will take you there. If you are unable to speak, have an autism-specific medical card you can give to people who may show concern or from whom you need to ask for help. This is also particularly important if you are selectively mute. I become selectively mute if I am overwhelmed. I can't talk. I can't tell you what's wrong. If I'm really, really overwhelmed and really having a meltdown, can't do it. So having a card that will include your unique sensitivities and needs, including may become nonverbal, may need extra time to respond, please give me space. These are important details. If you know this about yourself, put this on a card. And again, if there is if there is a local language that you're spending a lot of time in a region with another local language in addition to English, put that local language on it. Give yourself time to rest after the meltdown is over. Don't be afraid to change your plans to accommodate a recovery day. I highly suggest that if you have a meltdown, you give yourself an entire day after, where you are either, hell, you know what, order room service, turn on the TV, put the AC on as high as you need it to be. Maybe all you do is go to maybe if you're near a lake or a park, go there at most, but give yourself an entire day to come down from that. You will not regret that. Yes, it sucks that you're missing, you've got to change your plans, you've got to alter things, and that really sucks, but it's going to be it's going to be better for you overall if you are kind to yourself, if you show compassion to yourself and acknowledge that this is a thing that is a possibility to happen, that you knew was a possibility, and it's okay that it happened. This is your brain, and this is what your brain needs, and there's no reason to feel ashamed of that. You should not feel ashamed that this is what you need to have a good time, to continue to enjoy yourself. It's nothing to be embarrassed about. I will say this. One of the meltdowns I had on one of those earlier when we were talking about going off the beaten path, I had an absolute star-studded, I don't know, that's not really the right word, an absolute stellar meltdown while I was traversing the quote-unquote real India. And I was having a meltdown on the back of a motorcycle at pitch black in rural India where there were no streetlights, no road signs, no pavement. And my friend was racing me back to his village because I had suddenly, while we were out on this excursion, had suddenly just lost it. I was tired. I was uncomfortable. I was not feeling well. And I just started crying, and I could not tell him what was wrong. And he panicked because he was like, what the fuck? I don't understand. So he got on his bike, we raced back, I'm holding on to him, and I'm standing there crying on the back of this bike. And I'm like, this is how I die. I'm going to die. I thought I was going to die. I thought that my friend in his panic was going to crash the motorcycle, that no one would ever see me again. It was pretty rough. And I say that, and despite that, I still don't regret that whole excursion. But my point here is that if I had known what was happening, if I had known that what was happening was a meltdown or a shutdown, I think it would have been less severe. Just knowing what was happening would have made it a lot less severe for me. I would have probably been kinder to myself afterward, and I would have given myself that time to break, that time to recover, rather than obviously, I mean, I apologize profusely like a crazy person for the next 3 or 4 days. But if I had known what was going on, I think it would have made it immensely easier for me. I'll make sure this one gets on YouTube so it doesn't vanish. Oh, well, thank you, Modbot. How you doing? Are you okay? How's Tra? But yes, so my big advice to you would be, on the day that you give yourself off, do not be afraid to just veg out in front of a TV or a computer, watch comfort shows, eat comfort food, really just do whatever levels you out, makes you even, as I say. Why was the kitchen floor covered in broken glass? I have no fucking idea. I did not drop anything. I promise. I swear, if something broke, it fell off. It's ghosts. It's ghosts. It's haunted. We have a haunted kitchen. Just the kitchen, though. Just that weird region of tile is haunted. Haunted tiles. Your foot mopped it up. I'm sorry, Mom. But why do you always find all the ouches? You find the pokey pokies. I was just playing Phasmophobia earlier. Hot damn. When bad shit happens, scams, creepers, and other calamities. All right, this is a big one. The trouble you are most likely to encounter is minor and the problems are solvable. Most scammers just want to part you from your money. That's actually kind of the biggest takeaway. I want you to know, again, this is an area where different countries are going to have different, I would say, trends. It sounds like a weird word to use, but different trends for what is the hot scam of the moment. And you can find a lot of information about that from places like Fedora's travel guides or Lonely Planet travel guides. But please remember, and this is not going to sound comforting, but I promise you, if you think about it long enough, it will be. Most scammers just want your money. They don't want to hurt you. That would be counterintuitive to what they're trying to accomplish. They want to just get money out of you and leave you alone. And in that sense, there are things you can do to kind of, especially when it comes to money. I have kept, whenever I travel, I keep I keep cash in many different locations. I keep cash, obviously, in a purse or a wallet, but I keep cash in a part of my suitcase that I keep in my room where I'm staying. I keep some cash in, I have a little teddy bear that has a Velcro back that I open up and I put a little bit of cash in there and leave him on the bed in my hotel room, because who's going to suspect that little teddy bear is full of cash? Nobody's going to take him. He looks like shit. He's raggedy. He's all raggedy and gross. Nobody's going to take that teddy bear. No offense, my friend teddy bear. Backup credit card in the prison pocket. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, just keep that way. Keep cash when you have cash on your person. Have 2 or 3 different places that you're keeping cash, so that if you get robbed, you throw the monies at them, and then you still have monies that you can use to get help. Most of the scamming, quote unquote scamming for money, is going to come from organized situations where it's not like going to be somebody who comes up to you and be like, give me money. It's going to be, you're going to be scammed into taking a day tour that's more expensive than you anticipated. You're going to get scammed into buying a souvenir that you don't necessarily want. You're going to pay too much for it. You're going to pay too much for food, or you're going to something or other. It's usually going to be tied to an experience or to a product. So I have had, in ways that I have been deprived of money that I didn't want to spend. It has never been absolutely calamitous. It has sucked, but I have never been put in a situation where I was somehow stranded or unable to get help. That doesn't mean it can't happen, of course, but remember that, again, people don't want you to be harmed physically or put in a situation where you might get harmed physically. So, because that's their bread and butter. The daily special at a restaurant. Yes, the daily special at a restaurant. Somebody getting you to pay for a mixtape. Somebody getting you to, a big one in India is you'll be approached by a woman holding a baby, and she'll ask you to buy her powdered milk from a store. And of course, you're a decent human being, and it's a woman with a baby, so you go and you buy her milk, powdered milk, and she takes the milk. And it's a part of a larger racket where she takes that and she turns it around and she sells it. Or it becomes there's like a baby milk, there's like a powdered milk, like mafia. It's weird, but it exists. There's sometimes it's like, and then there are times when, you're approached by someone who obviously sees you're a tourist, and they're like, for 400 rupees, I can take you to the Taj Mahal, and you'll comes with a free this and a this and a that and it's obviously like too good to be true. And you may find that you are feeling adventurous, and you're like, you know what, this is obviously a scam, but it might also make for a good story. So as long as you know what you're walking into, sometimes it's okay. You shouldn't feel embarrassed about it, because you will not be the first and you will not be the last person that this happens to. But you have to walk into these situations with eyes open and aware that that's just the constant. What's the word? What's the phrase I want? The cost of doing business, I guess. Let's see. Creepers rely on your silence. Don't be afraid to make a scene. This is especially true in India for the ladies out there, the femme presenting individuals. You will be catcalled. You will get unwanted attention on a regular basis. This is unfortunate. What I say that, and I would like to add to that for every time that happens to you, for every unpleasant or uncomfortable experience you have with that, there are going to be 50 other guys, Indian men, who are going to be perfectly polite, perfectly respectful, and kind and generous human beings. Unfortunately, it's just that it's a numbers game. There's a higher population, therefore it's more likely that you're going to run into the assholes. It's just how that kind of works. But that being said, because of the cultural differences, you should not feel afraid to get physical. And I mean that. If somebody comes up to you and like happened to me and whispers offensive shit in your ear or follows you down an alley, turn around and hit that son of a bitch. Hit him, scream at him, pull on his hair. Do not be afraid to get physical and attract attention to yourself, because that shit does not fly as a cultural thing. Like they're not allowed to get not publicly get away with that kind of shit with the ladies there. So if you draw attention to that shit, chances are you're going to have a lot of people on your side. One particular incident was for me, with me and my friends. When I was meeting up with my friends, we were out for a walk, and we were not in a deserted or remote place. We were in a major city in a busy street at nighttime when the bazaar was at its busiest, and we were on the sidewalk walking together, and a tuk-tuk driver and whatever friend was in the passenger seat with him were tailing us, and they were shouting at us and harassing us, and they were like saying lewd things to us. And my instinct was what unfortunately never works, which is to ignore it. You keep walking, you ignore it. Because, right, if you ignore it, it goes away. If you ignore it, they stop. Right, guys? Right, ladies? If you ignore it, it goes away. Does not, actually. Spoiler alert, doesn't go away. What happened next was incredible. At first, I tried to tell him to go away in Hindi. I yelled at him. It didn't go away. An Indian woman, though, roughly our age, approached the tuk-tuk and just leveled at him and let loose a string of slurs and offensive words that I'm not even sure I understand entirely. But she screamed at him. She shamed him loudly in front of all of these people, and then they drove off. And I normally don't do this because I'm not a hugger. I'm not a touchy-feely person, especially with strangers. But I gave that woman a hug. I said, "Thank you so much." And she said, in English, she said, "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that this happened to you." And I said, "It's not your fault. I mean, it's not." I meant it as like, this is not a reflection on you, basically. That shit didn't work with the bullies in third grade. It ain't going to work with shitheads as an adult. This is true. It doesn't work. It has never worked. So please, if you feel threatened, if you feel unsafe, even if if quote unquote, all they're using is words, those are words they are not allowed to use. It is not their right to use them. Just because they think they can get away with it because you're a foreigner, and they think that you're not going to fight back because you don't want to get, you don't want to, what if, the authorities get involved? No, they're not going to get away with it. So, and then in another incident, I was followed down an alleyway by a guy that was whispering really lewd stuff into my ear, and I was terrified, and I turned, and it was dark, and it was secluded, so I turned around and I hit him in the face. And he ran like a son of a bitch. He ran, and the look on his face, I will never forget. He did not expect that at all. Now, I immediately went back to my hotel and cried into my pillow the rest of the night. But in retrospect, it was the right thing to do. That was pure fight or flight, and my body chose fight at that point, and it worked. So, I don't say these things to scare people from or deter you from going, because I say this as it's like a general possibility, and I want you to feel empowered to defend yourself. But I will tell you again, for every situation like that you might encounter or might be a possibility, you will find that 90% of people are helpful and do not tolerate that shit either, and they're kind, and they are, they'll stand up for you. So do not be afraid to get help. When you consider whether to go to the law enforcement, if possible, report incidents to the owner or manager of your accommodations. The reason I say that is because, obviously have the number for the local law enforcement if you need to call, but they're going to know, like with the last one, they're going to know who can be trusted and who can't be. Local law enforcement, it's kind of a crapshoot as to whether they're corrupt enough to be relied up, if they're too corrupt to be relied on. But the local business owners are going to know what's what, who's in bed with who. If you need immediate assistance, approach a female law enforcement officer first. This is, I feel like I shouldn't have to say this, but like I'm going to say it anyway. This is not about. This is going to sound sexist, but that's just the way it is. It's not that female law enforcement aren't going to be corrupt. It's that their brand of and flavor of corruption is going to probably involve less sexual assault, if that makes any sense. That's going to involve less physical encounters, if that makes any sense. So that's just the reality of moving through the world as a femme presenting person. If nothing else, approach female shopkeepers and business owners and ask for help. They will have a better idea of which local law enforcement to trust and what to do next. Yeah. So I have never been in a situation where I had to call the police. In the situations I'm talking about where I was followed down the alley and I, hit the guy and I ran off. In that scenario, I got into my hotel room, I locked the door, I did all that stuff, had my good cry, and I was able to kind of come to the realization that my biggest fear was actually that he was going to come back, like that he was going to get a posse together and he was going to come back for me. But I realized, and this comes with an understanding of the culture, he's never going to tell anybody that happened to him. He is never going to admit that he got bested by a woman in an alley. He's never going to admit that to anybody. If he's married, he's definitely not telling his wife. If he's not telling his buddies, if I even left a mark, and I'll never know if I did or not, he's going to come up with a story that is not nearly as embarrassing. So I figured he got his. I taught him a lesson in that moment that he maybe the next time if you fuck around, you're going to find out. If that was his kink, then he certainly tried to get away from me as fast as possible. If a bitch wanted to get slapped, he might have stuck around. But for the vast majority of bad things, quote unquote bad things that will happen to you, I'll go back up to the first point. The trouble you're most likely to encounter is minor and problems are solvable. If your reservation is canceled on you, if you, I've been overcharged by tuk-tuk drivers, I've been overcharged at restaurants. I've been humiliated. I had these moments where I kind of, I had a flight canceled on me and I stood in a crowd of angry Indians screaming all at once at the poor woman behind the counter who was just trying to take care of one ticket at a time. And I'm thinking the whole time, like, y'all, she can only process one ticket at a time. Just form a goddamn line and she'll get through it faster. Things like that. Canceled trains, canceled planes, canceled this, that. These are all really inconvenient and uncomfortable, but they are not, you will not be in danger. You're not in danger. I'd say the only time I felt actually in danger was that incident in the alley. I didn't feel in danger with the guy in the tuk-tuk because I was with my friends. It was a really busy street. It was just odd that they felt so brave to do it with so many people around. I guess that was what was weird about it. But that just also, the moral of that story too is don't be afraid to ask for help from local women. Again, it's just a better fit. It's a safer option. Go to a woman shopkeeper, say, these guys are really, if somebody hadn't come to our aid in that moment, what would have been a good thing to know that I felt comfortable doing was, can I go to a local woman and say, hey, these guys are really harassing us. What can we do? Can you help us? Can we hang out in your shop for a while maybe he'll get bored. He'll go get bored and go away. Feeling empowered to ask for help is very important in these situations. it can be scary because you don't really know who to ask for help from. But I think that in retrospect, in hindsight, hindsight 2020 and all that, there were many occasions where I could have asked for help that I didn't ask for help. And I would have made my life a lot easier and a lot more comfortable. But yes, please keep in mind, do not let the possibility of bad things happening keep you from doing fun things and enjoying yourself. I remember one of the big warnings that I read about before going to Ireland, of all places, was like, in Dublin, be cautious. Make sure you wear your bag this particular way or under your shirt because Dublin is crawling with pickpockets. Now, maybe I just got lucky, but I've never had that problem. I've never had that happen to me. I've never been pickpocketed anywhere I've gone. It feels like a very old-timey problem. I don't know. I feel like people are getting their money from you differently. I don't know. And I could just be lucky. I just could just be damn lucky. So that's to say, not that you shouldn't take that into consideration, but don't let it, be aware of it. Be aware of what scams are kind of out there and what people are doing. But don't let it stop you from going somewhere, because chances are good that you're never going to encounter that stuff. You're never going to experience that stuff. Yeah, I really want to encourage people to not be afraid to let those sorts of things frighten them away from traveling, because what you get out of traveling is so important and enriching. I've learned so much about myself and about other people and about the world, and I have seen things that I will never, that are amazing, and some things that are I'm not going to be able to see again, and it's incredible. It's really something worth doing if you're able to do it. The only time I encountered a pickpocket was part of an espionage scheme. That sounds sexy, but also very odd. Dude was trying to nick military secrets or something in the middle of in New York Comic-Con. What? Ruh-roh. Tips. Just the tips. These are a random collection of pieces of advice that I have found helpful in traveling. Use paperback guidebooks and maps, at least as a backup. Internet and electricity aren't always reliable. This is true everywhere. This is true in Europe. This is true in the United States. This is true in India. However, cut out only the pages that are specific to where you will go. Staple and tuck in a folder. Cuts down on the baggage weight and time spent flipping to what you need. Some of these Lonely Planet and Fedora's guidebooks are like honkin' chonkin' Bible-sized books. These are enormous books. They're heavy. But this is the best travel tip I have ever, one of the best that I use it. I've used it every time I've gone abroad. I figure out my itinerary, where I'm going. I go to my Lonely Planet book and I take a razor blade to the binding and I cut out those pages and I staple them together. Another amazing, it will save you on weight. And like I said, weight and time. You are not going to be you're not going to be flipping through your book looking for what you want. It's all going to be right there. And what else? So that leads me to the next one. Keep a journal. So those pages you just cut out of your guidebook are going to really be useful for adding to this keep a journal. Now, like I said, I always advocate for traveling as light as possible. You're just going to be a lot more comfortable. The less you bring, the less you lose. But this is where I am okay with adding extra weight and extra material to my packing list. I keep a journal, a physical paper journal, whether it is a drawing journal or a line journal. Even if you take photos, I'm not a big picture taker, but I'd say even if you take photos, bring tape, bring glue, stickers, artist travel kit. It's worth taking the time to document your experience on paper. I have always done this. Regardless of the length of the trip, if my 10-day Ireland trip has a journal, and my 60-day India trip has a journal. And the benefit to keeping a physical journal is that it allows your brain to process and experience your trip differently. And I find it more, maybe this is old, maybe this is just that I'm old fashioned. Maybe this is not necessarily useful to everybody. But I find this particularly pleasing to my brain. It helps me, especially when you are talking about days when you are recovering from burnout or you're recovering from a meltdown. This can help you stay in a positive frame of light, to have this ability to reflect on your trip or what you did in the day. And what I tend to do is I keep receipts, and I keep ticket stubs, and I keep I keep, I don't know, just random, maybe a label off of a candy wrapper I bought. And I glue it or I tape it or whatever. And honestly, you could even buy the tape and the glue when you get to where you're going. But I always like to bring my own. And you at the end of every day, I would make time to at least put like a page in there. Like put in a 1 page about your day, about what you did. It doesn't have to be detailed. You don't have to go into minutia about how you felt or how you know, the way that the light glinted off of the museum glass wall, the window. You don't have to get into that. You just have to like say, today I did this. And then maybe you recall like, and then I met this guy who was like super cool and we did this. It can be very basic, but I find it to be, you can do little doodles and sketches and stuff. I find this to be one of the most satisfying ways of traveling, of experiencing it. And now I have this record. I have this very physical record of stuff. But this is maybe just personal to me, but this is something that I have found very helpful to me and very wonderful while traveling. And I have all sizes. My journals some of them are 8x11, some of them, but very thin. Some of them are pocket sized. Some of them are watercolor paper. And one trip to India that I didn't do any writing. I just recorded the trip in paintings and pictures and little mini watercolor sketches. And so I wrote nothing about what it was or where it was. I just was recording it visually. It was just a new way it was like an experiment of like, well, what if I did it this way? It's harder to do nowadays, but my mom used to print out the MapQuest pages and other itinerary items for trips. Yes. I have trouble with physical journaling because my handwriting is garbo and then some. And this is what I mean by, because my handwriting is not the best either. This is why it's so useful to keep those. If you cut out the pages if you buy the Lonely Planet guide, the physical Lonely Planet guide or the fedoras, and you cut out the pages of the places that you're going or that you're going to visit, and you end up going to those places, now you don't even really have to write about them. You cut that section out. Today I went to the Taj Mahal, and then you take the section about the Taj Mahal out of your fedoras and you paste it in, and then you include your ticket stub and you write a couple of impressions, or maybe you have somebody else write in your journal. That's always fun when you meet somebody and say, hey, can you just write a note in my journal? Anybody. It doesn't have to be like, that's what I said with the watercolor book. I didn't write anything in it. I just recorded it with pictures. And there's this sort of fear, I think, or anxiety, like, well, how am I going to know, when, what day it was, what time? And that's a very neurodivergent thing. It's like, but details, give me the deets, right? And this is where receipts come in handy, because what do receipts have them? The receipts have the date and the time, and they'll usually have the place, usually. And that is a very useful record-keeping item. So, and obviously most receipt paper is not going to last forever. It's going to fade with time. It's not a perfect record keeping. For me, it's not intended to last 1,000 years. It's intended to last for, hopefully the duration of my lifetime for the most part. And that's as long as it has to last. I find that much more satisfying than pausing to take pictures. I have a hard time with taking pictures. I don't like having to think about that. Remember to take a picture. Oh gosh, I'm here now. This is a new thing. There's new things happening. Got to take a picture. It feels like it's simple for a lot of people. For me, it mentally is not simple to me. So I have learned to let go of that need. I get a lot of criticism from my, particularly mom. She's like, why did you take more pictures? Why are all the pictures you did take not have you in them? Because I don't stop. I don't stop and ask people to take pictures of me. I don't stop. I'm too busy doing the thing I'm doing to stop to take the picture of the thing that I'm doing. So I think this is another neurodivergent thing where you just have to let go of the expectations that other people have of how your travel is going to look. How is it going to look for you is going to be different than other people, and that's okay. It doesn't mean you're not going to have a good time. It means you're going to have in fact, it means you're going to have an amazing time because you're doing it the way that suits you the most, rather than doing it the way that suits somebody else. Like I said, travel as light as possible, have souvenirs mailed home, or purchase a second bag on the road to check. Best travel bags rundown coming soon. I'm going to be doing a whole other... So my plan is tentatively to start a at least monthly segment where, and this is, I guess, technically the first of it, where I do a special stream that is related to neurodivergency somehow, or is me enjoying and doing engaging in autistic joy, whether that be a tier list or we're going to review one of my hyper focuses, which is travel bags. So that's coming up. That's going to be its own thing. But it is very easy and very cheap, actually, to buy a bag on the road and send that back. Either ship it or check it, rather than taking a bunch of bags with you. I don't think I included it in here. Related to this, in terms of packing, traveling light, if you anticipate, do not worry about packing things like formal clothing or nice shoes, regardless of where you're going. And the reason I say that is because chances are, if you use it at all, you'll be using it one time. And congratulations, you've used it one time, and you have now, it's weighing you down, it's weighing down your bag, and it's taking up space, valuable, real estate in your bag. And the chances are you're not going to need it. If you find that you're going to go to a formal occasion, or you get invited to a wedding, like that can happen in India, you get invited, buy an outfit while you're there, because it's probably going to be cheaper than buying an outfit beforehand. Excuse me. And then, if you don't want to bring it back with you for some reason, or you don't like it necessarily or you don't know when you're going to wear it again, you can always donate it in the country that you bought it in. So don't feel like you have to bring things if you can afford to buy them in the place that you're going. It will save you it'll save you time and space. Like I said, with the journaling stuff, the journaling stuff, like the earlier when we were talking about the fidget kit, as it were, that feels, it may feel frivolous, it may feel excessive, it may feel unnecessary. And for individuals on an individual level, it may be that. For me, the journaling is a necessity that I make space for in my bag. And you're always going to have that thing that you want space for and that you want to keep, that somebody else doesn't need, but for you it's necessary, and that's okay. But I'd say in general, pack as light as possible. You do not want the hassle of trying to schlep suitcases around with you, regardless of where you're going. Keep it simple, keep your hands free. You can get by with a lot less than you think. I had a 40-liter backpack, one backpack, and I'm not talking one of the giant hiking backpacks. When we go through the bags, I'll show you my bag. It is 40-liter backpack. It carried with me all the clothes and all of the things I needed toiletry-wise for a 60-day trip to India. I was never out of clothes. I always had something to wear. It was always comfortable. And that's going to, again, this is one of these things where it's like, no, I have to have 6 pairs of shoes, and I have to have 9 bras, and I have to have my tackle box full of makeup. Okay. But you're gonna struggle. If you have to have those things, you're going to struggle much more than if you just are able to pare it down. I am sorry. What are you sorry for? Of all the things to be sorry for, Scourge, you are sorry for making the joke that I made in my stream? Are you in therapy, Scourge? Always buy scuba gear. A few times I went to an hotel con, I usually tried to pack as lightly as possible. I just got back. I should be in therapy. When traveling where English is not a primary language, bring a list of foods in that language. Most menus will not have pictures. What I mean by this is, to give you an example, when I went from North India to South India, I went to a state in South India that where both English was very seldom spoken and Hindi was not spoken at all. And so it was a completely different language with a completely different script. So when I went to the one restaurant that was within walking distance that had food that I could tolerate, I could not read the menu. I had no idea what was on the menu, and there were no pictures on the menu. So, luckily, at the time, I had there was Wi-Fi, I had access to the internet with my phone. I was literally just lucky, and I Googled common South Indian foods, and it gave me a list. Now, I had no idea if these foods were on the menu, but that list gave me and it showed me how they were, obviously because it was in English, how it was pronounced. And it gave me an idea of what I could expect to find. So I looked at the guy who came to ask me what I wanted, and I listed a random assortment of South Indian foods in the hopes that one of them was on the menu. Turns out they were all on the menu, so I got all of them. 80 rupees later, which for perspective's sake is $1, my giant meal arrived. But it was a lifesaver. Let's put it that way. So I suggest that if you're going to a place where the food is unfamiliar and you're not sure if you're going to have access to safety foods, look up names of common dishes that you would find in that area, and then you will at least be able to ask about those foods. And if they say, no, we don't have that, then you've got 6 or 7 other options to go through. Oh, it's so nice. I mean, North India is cheap, but like South India is dirt cheap. Oh my God. I ate like a king, like a fucking king down there. It was great. This girl's got an appetite. He did smile at me, well, because one of the things that I knew of ahead of time going into it, I knew of one dish that I really liked that was South Indian, and I couldn't wait to order it, actually. And I went to order it, and he gave me this smile, and I thought it was like he was amused, and he put the order in, and it came back, and it was delicious. It was amazing. And I told my host about this later. My host was South Indian, but he spoke English and in Hindi. And he said, well, I told him about that, and he said, well, it's because that dish is traditionally it's a breakfast food, and you were ordering it like 6 at night. And so probably what you got was like whatever was left over from the morning. And I said, I don't care, it was delicious. So, that's one of those situations where it's like, it may not have been available because I was ordering at the wrong time, and I just wasn't aware that it was considered a breakfast food. So what language do they speak in South India? Well, they speak a lot of languages in South India. In the state of Tamil Nadu, where I was at, was Tamil. They speak Tamil. And I did not speak Tamil. I still don't speak Tamil. I learned enough Tamil. It's gone now. I learned enough Tamil before I went to say hello and say thank you, and I think maybe ask where the bathroom was. But it was not a lot. But yeah, it was, so things like that I found, so I would say in the future, I would take a list of foods with me just to be prepared if I was not familiar with what was locally available. Sometimes you want a breakfast crunch wrap at like 9:35 at night. This is true. I didn't feel too guilty about it. You should learn all the languages. You first, Scourge. You first, and then let me know how it goes. India has 23 official languages. Yes, India has 23 official languages. In the north, you are most likely to encounter English throughout the north of India, to varying degrees. But in the south, they speak very little Hindi and they speak very little English. So it was fun. I mean, I went into that knowing, I knew that that's the situation. I sort of prepared myself to be doing a lot of hand work. By that, I mean talking with my hands. But I had a guidebook with, I did have a small language app on my phone for Tamil, and I did have, and in case of, as for failsafe, because internet and electricity and stuff, I had I did have a couple of phrases written down. Doing the handiwork, doing God's handiwork. Store cash in we talked about this. Store cash in multiple locations on your person, in your luggage, or even leave some in a hidden location in your room. Safeguard against forgetfulness, scams, and remote locations with no ATM where cards are not accepted. There are still places in India, and even actually there are very rural places in Ireland where the credit cards are not accepted. So you do need to have cash on you. Forgetfulness is a big deal. It's like my big problem. I do forget things. So cash is important to keep in hidden secret spots. Now, if I forget that I remembered to put cash in a secret spot, that's a whole other issue, but one problem at a time. Hey, where are we at? Resources. This is a very short list because honestly, a lot of the stuff that I have not had enough time to kind of to go through, get an exhaustive list. So what I have here is lonelyplanet.com. These are just, Lonely Planet guidebooks are just what I've always used. They're not necessarily the best. I started using them. I found them really useful, and so I have continued to use them. Lonely Planet guidebooks to any place that you want to go. Again, get the paper version, cut out the parts you want. I think actually though, now you can even buy them get like the PDF version and just print out the pages too. I think you can do now. I'd have to double check with that, but yeah, if you want to do it that way, you can also do it that way. Packhacker.com is probably we're gonna go into detail with packhacker.com when I do my bag review stream, but packhacker.com, if you would like a detailed breakdown of packing gear, mostly bags, but also, accessories that help make travel more comfortable. Meow! That's a very tired cat. Packhacker is a really fun website. It has a really nice, they really do great video reviews. They do really detailed breakdowns of stuff. It's very entertaining. CDC, seems like a stupid thing to include, but the world is shifting quickly, and COVID being what it is, and other things being what they are, and vaccines, and malaria, and diphtheria, and all of that fun stuff. Different countries are going to have different requirements. They're going to have different, depending on even the duration of your trip, they're going to recommend different things, different vaccines. Different countries have different things to be aware of. And so, again, this is an area of you got to do your own homework, because I don't know where you want to go. Figure out where you want to go, and then find out what kind of shots you need, what kind of drugs you need to get. italki.com, highly recommended for language learning. I have used italki.com. italki, some people say italki, I say italki, I don't know. italki.com. If you are hoping or would like to get very gently conversational basics, get the basics before traveling somewhere. I find that knowing at least some language, even if it's not even if you're not even conversational, even if all you can do is ask basic questions, I find that helps with connecting with people, and it endears you to people, and you're more likely to get help and have people be patient with you if you know some of the language. italki.com is a website that allows you to book lessons with either tutors or casual tutors or actual teachers that have their credentials listed for maybe 30 languages, if not more. They have tons of languages on there. I have used it for Hindi since I started learning Hindi, and it is very easy. It's affordable. Depending on the language, I mean, some more popular languages are more expensive, but that means there's more teachers, and so that kind of brings the price down a little bit. But you can learn now. They've just launched group language classes where you can. It's only for I think Spanish and English, and then I think maybe French. You can have even cheaper online classes by booking a group lesson, or you can just find conversation partners. So I find it extremely useful, extremely easy to navigate. So I need to get my HPV and my chlamydia vaccines before Vegas. Oh, honey. There's so much HPV leaking out of that place. I can't even buy a one. Get yourself a lot lizard. Young man. A fine specimen. You're a bit late for starting the HPV shot, Battery. It's true. You a little late, son. Imagine not being asexual. You'll get better one day. You'll get better one day. Is that it? That's it. That's it. That's all she wrote. Traveling on the spectrum. This concludes my presentation for the moment. So yeah, thank you guys for listening to me gab. Like I said, if you guys have suggestions or if you have ideas that you want to add to this, by all means, shoot them at my direction through DMs or on Twitter or in the Discord, because I'll add them, make it easier for everybody. And I will make this available to anybody who would like it. I will figure out how to do that. Modbot will help. Modbot knows secrets. If it's just a simple matter of uploading the PDF to Discord, I'll do that. Yeah, I hope you guys found it useful or interesting or entertaining. If you have any questions or thoughts or farts, I'm open to it. What do I do if I'm traveling and surprise random chimp event? What does that even mean? What does that even mean, Scourge? I don't even understand. I don't even understand what those words mean separately. Scourge. Learn how words work. It was completely random being here, but that was amazing. Well, I'm glad. Welcome to Camp Luna. This is the first of this type of stream I've done. I hope that I enjoyed it. I enjoyed making the PowerPoint. I enjoyed kind of reflecting on my own travel experience and seeing if there was any little nuggets of wisdom in there that I could impart. But random chimp event is a meme. Oh, see, that's big. Oh, see, they know what my problem is, that it's me. It's not you, it's me, Scourge. I'm just old. Old and unconnected. Not as connected as I should be. But yes, thank you all for coming out tonight. I really appreciate it. I had a great time with you all tonight. I am going to see, let's see who we can raid. Let me first, oh no, I sound like what's that Japanese horror movie? The Ring? I sound like the Ring girl. Bah! There we go. Just gotta get rid of it. You're gonna see my cigarettes. Scrundling. Do you scrundle your soup? No, I scrundle my grundle. I just like the way those words sound together. Oh, you're welcome, Cannon. Thank you for being here. Let me see if I can, where's the internet? Where's the internet at? God damn it. It's always running away. Let's see. Let's do, who should we raid? Pluzzle's doing SnowRunner. We raided Pluzzle recently. Yamu Kushi, Kimchi, Kelly. So Marigal's doing Valorant. Let's see if there's any recommendeds that I haven't. Phalian Invader. Oh wait. I thought we raided Phalian. Didn't I follow Phalian Invader? Oh man. Bow. Bow. Anybody have any recommendations? You consider yourself scrunkly? I'm mad crunk though. I'm hella crunk. I scrundle my grundle and I crunk. I got too much crunk in my trunk. Oh man, there's a stream. Wait, there's a stream by someone called Ask Jesus, and it's called AI Jesus. I don't think we're gonna give AI Jesus any follows here. Oh, Kimichi is playing Grand Theft Auto, and they've only got 8 people. How long have they been playing? Only 19 minutes. Oh, why don't we raid Kimichi? They're playing a Grand Theft Auto. I haven't seen anyone playing Grand Theft Auto in a long time. This was both fun and informative. Thank you, Luna. I'll probably be back next month for the next one. Yay! Well, I'll keep you guys updated. If you're new around here, I do not publish a regular schedule. I announce my streams either the day before or the morning of. That's just my life right now. It's unfortunate that I can't plan too far ahead, but I generally, these days, I'm streaming about 2 or 3 times a week. Usually at between 7:30 and I start between 7:30 and 8 p.m. PST. If you would like to keep abreast of all if you'd like to keep abreast of all of when I will be streaming and what I'll be streaming, you can follow me on Twitter and you can follow me on Discord. We have a good time. It gets a little weird, but we have a good time. My next stream, I do not know when I will stream next. I am planning on Friday night doing a movie stream. I'm streaming a movie in screening a movie in Discord. It's going to be a sci-fi Bollywood movie. It's quite the spectacle. It's called Raw 1. If you would like to know more information about that, if you go to my Discord and go to the movie thread, you will see if you scroll to the top, scroll up, you'll see some trailers from the movie that I plan on watching. It is a Bollywood movie, but there will be English subtitles. So do not worry if you do not understand the Hindis. You will trust me, even if I didn't put subtitles on, it would be enough of a spectacle to be worth watching. But you will have a good time. We will have subtitles. It will be fun, and hope to see you guys there. Give me my... There we go. Let's do Kimichi. More than a little weird when I'm around, this is true. You add a special sprinkling of weird. A dash of your own unique weirdness. So let's raid with Kimichi with let's see, let's do I don't want to do autism travel raid. Let's do info dump raid. Info dump. Yeah, that's a good one. Info dump raid. Info dump. Let's do info dump raid. Yay! All right, thank you guys. I will see you over at Kimichi's place. Guys, have a good night. And be kind to each other. Be good to each other. And I will see you on the flip side. Now I feel weird because I'm trying to go to my screen and I can't find it. Here it is.